So you may be asking yourself, why does all this matter? Why does it matter if they're a qualifying child or a qualifying relative? Why does it matter? And I bet you already know the answer I'm going to give you, and it's all about the Benjamins. It's all about money here because to be a qualifying child means you can qualify for certain tax credits, namely the child tax credit, which is $2,000, the earned income credit, which is a huge credit, can be a large credit. Uh, and so that's why it matters. And why does it matter if a qualifying relative then? Well, same answer, money. So let me share my screen with you and let's take a look at some notes. Okay, so we do have a couple of other little things to look at before we start talking about the money. The first thing is what happens if your child is born and dies during this year. Well, again, we start to treat it a lot like we did the married filing jointly. So if your qualifying child passes away during the year, you get to claim it as if it was alive for the whole year. Likewise, it doesn't matter when the child is born, you get to claim it and get the tax credits for the entire year. So if your baby is born on December 31st, you claim it for the entire year and you'll get the child tax credit. Likewise, if he dies on January 1, you still get the child for the entire year. The baby must be considered to have been born alive by local laws. So even if the child is born alive and pretty much passes away thereafter, you still would get to claim it as a child tax credit and claim it on your tax return, as long as it's considered to have been born alive. I know this is pretty morbid stuff, but we've got to take in all of circumstances here. So now we're talking about the money. Here's why it matters to be a qualifying child and why it is preferred over a qualifying relative. $2,000. If they are under $17, they qualify for a $2,000 child tax credit. So that is a pretty big incentive. When you look at the other dependent credit, they must be a qualifying child or relative. So here's where that other relative comes in, but it's only $500 per. Now, don't get confused about why you have qualifying child here and not up here. It's because of the age limit. So you might have a qualifying child, but they're 18 years old. And so now you don't get the $2,000, but then they do qualify here as your other dependent credit. And so you would get $500 for them. So that is the big reason why it matters. So let's put some of this into practice here. So here's some facts about somebody, one of our tax preparers want to put on the tax return. They're 21 years old, single, U.S. citizen, full-time student. It's their child. She earns $18,000. Mom and dad pay $3,600 a year for various expenses. The child pays her college and living expenses and lives with her roommates all year round. So let's put our test into action here and see if she meets our definition if we're a qualifying child. Does she meet the relationship test? Well, it's their child, so yeah, she meets that one. Does she meet the domicile test? Well, she has to be a member of their household or be away for short-term absences like college. So in this case, she would qualify for the domicile test. It's got to be under 19 unless she's a full-time student. Well, we looked at that a while ago. She's a full-time student. So that means she has to be under 24 and she's 21. So she meets that test. Is she going to file a joint return? Well, no, she's single, so she won't file a joint return. Is she a citizen? Yep, she's a U.S. citizen or Canada or Mexico, so that works. And now we're going to look at the support test. Well, the child pays her college and living expenses from her money. Here you can see she earns $18,000 a year and mom's and dad are only kicking in $3,600 a year. So unfortunately, she's going to fail this test. So she would not be a qualifying child to mom and dad here. But let's see if she would meet the qualifying relative test. Is she related to them? Yep, she's their child, so that works. The gross income test, does she earn more than $4,200 a year? Well, yeah, she does, so she fails that one. Does mom and dad provide more than half of her support? Well, like we learned in the last one, they don't, so they fail that one. And then the other two, you probably already know, she's single, so she's not going to file a joint return, and she's a U.S. citizen, so she passes the citizenship test. So she failed 2 of these 5 tests, so we are not going to be able to claim her as a qualifying relative. She would need to file her own tax return and file as single. So that's why it matters. It's always about the money here in the tax world. And this is a hot issue, especially when you have divorced parents and they're fighting over who gets to claim the child. It's not fun at all. So in our next one, we're going to start talking about the standard deduction.